Well, Facebook's not giving me the share option. Whatever. All right, let's get to it. This is what we're talking about. We've got some thunderstorms to talk about. Right now, we don't have a whole lot going on. Had some rain overnight. I've got some thunderstorms well west of us, or at least some showers well west of us. But it's essentially what we're going to be watching through the rest of the day today that kind of helps fuel and helps kind of spark up what we're going to be dealing with later on this afternoon and evening. As far as like reports are going, these are all the reports from yesterday's tornadoes and hail and straight line wind damage. I mean, just quite a bit of a mess well to our south across Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, and even into Tennessee and parts of the Florida Panhandle. So that's what they were dealing with yesterday. This is technically the same storm system, but I'm going to draw on here for you. The low is way up here. Well, that was not a good L. The low's way up here. This front, this boundary, as this pushes east, that's going to be what sparks up some pretty strong storms for later on today along the East Coast. We're up here. We're on the northern edge of it. What's happening is we're getting this flow, this kind of spin, this wraparound around this low, and that's what's going to give us our shot at severe weather right around here in northern Ohio. Just looking at a big picture right there, you can almost tell where it's going to be. We actually have partners with the SPC, the Storm Prediction Center in Oklahoma, and that's exactly where they've drawn their areas as well, the strongest storms along the East Coast with that front, and then our storms locally here. So it's not just me thinking this stuff. It's more than just me. Our shot at wind and hail, I think, are our biggest shots. They're not high. I think rain is our biggest concern, but flooding is still relatively low because they're going to come in bursts. I do expect some localized flash flooding. It's possible. Maybe some basements could fill up. I mean, the ground is thawing out and still pretty saturated. I know my sump pump has still been running almost nonstop in my basement. So we're going to have to watch our basements, that's for sure. But I also think that we got to keep an eye on the potential for tornadoes. An isolated tornado is definitely possible, and this is why. I'm going to go back over here to our radar here and show you what we have going on. Do you see the spin coming out of this? You can see all this is all our southeast winds are coming in here like this, fueling some moisture. You've got this cold front pushing that way, but around this low, you've got this rotation. You've got this flow that comes up from the south. All of this essentially is adding sort of a twisting to our atmosphere from the ground through the clouds. It's called shear. We don't have a whole lot of heat. We're not talking about massive amounts of heat, so massive amounts of lift or fuel for these thunderstorms, but we do have a lot of spin. So it's essentially, you may hear somebody say it's a low cape, high shear event, meaning that these aren't going to be like what we saw on social media and everywhere from Texas and Oklahoma. We're not going to be seeing these big thunderstorms that you can see for miles away that just grow, get large, and then drop that massive tornado. These are going to be very quick forming and quick dropping, short duration, little isolated brief tornadoes. They can still do some damage, and the potential is there. Not every single one of the storms that pops up is going to do that, but the potential is still going to be there. So it's something we're going to keep a close eye on for sure. Right now, there's really not a whole lot going on. Most of the rain is gone. I got a couple little showers here and there. I've got a lightning counter on here right now, and there's none even in the map out here. So these are just a couple little shots, a couple little downpours rolling through. We've got this pushing through like Erie and Huron counties, this one leaving Toledo heading into Detroit. These showers have all essentially pushed on. That was just steady rain we had that soaked our ground from this morning. Everything is still essentially going off towards the north and northeast at a pretty good clip. Now, as this is happening at the surface, you're going to notice our winds are still out of the east-southeast. So that's going to give us a little bit of fuel as far as, energy, as far as moisture is concerned. Not a whole lot of heat, but there's our wind speeds. You can see 19 in Cleveland, 19 in Mansfield, 15 in Akron, 17 in Worcester. So yeah, we're talking about some wind as we go out the door this morning. Those are going to pick up. I think those pick up quite a bit. I mean, gusts are already about 25 to 30 31 right now in Cleveland. So that's adding a little bit of fuel, adding a little bit of moisture to our air. We're not going to get a whole lot of heat, but we are going to get quite a bit of moisture that comes into our air. I mean, temperatures today only make it back to about 60, 61, maybe 62 for Cleveland. I think it's too cloudy, and I think we got to deal with a few more showers throughout the day today, so we don't just get a full day of wide open heating. Got a lot of questions. Wow. I just looked over. I will answer all of those questions, or try to answer those questions in a minute here. Oh, it's just no questions, just a bunch of good mornings. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it. Thanks for tuning in. I'm going to answer all your questions right here. You ready for it? Ready for timing? Here it is. Here's one of our latest kind of short range, high resolution models here. We'll take you through. That's kind of what I was telling you about, just a couple little pockets of some rain. You see a couple little pockets of red and oranges pushing through. I don't expect much from that, maybe a brief downpour, maybe a couple little rumbles, but nothing crazy. That's through midday. Once you get into the afternoon, you see how numbers start getting closer to 60. There's a little bit of fuel with that. I do expect some pretty good rainfall with these, but I also expect getting closer to the evening commute. Let's see if we're picking up on it. It's kind of picking up on it. Let me see if I can draw in here for you. Essentially what we're looking at is stuff like this and like this. The models are hinting, maybe even this one, they're hinting on individual supercells, individual storms that they may not be the largest, they may not even have a whole lot of lightning with them, but they're going to be spinning. They're going to be kind of rotating as they're lifting up and as they're kind of growing with, vertically growing up into the sky. That's where we've got that brief shot, that potential for an isolated tornado to pop down. I know we've been saying tornado a bunch today. We've been seeing it in the news the last couple of days across Texas, across Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi even. We're not going to be getting in on anything like what they're dealing with. But we've got the potential to get maybe an EF0 or 1, like a weak, brief little drop down and then pick back up, brief little pockets of damage, which at times can be even more dangerous because we don't have cameras all over the place to watch these long track tornadoes. So the warnings are going to be a little more, a little quicker essentially. So we got to be careful. We got to watch them. Here is 5 o'clock, so during the evening drive. And again, this is just picking up on trends. The radar's not going to look exactly like this, but it'll look close. I do want to show you. Let me see if I can zoom out just a little bit here. Keep an eye on where the low is going, on the spin. You see things like, watch this area right here. As I go backwards and forwards, you can kind of see it rotate a bit. That's essentially the low. The low's going to be pulling all these storms as they grow up, as they grow taller. It's going to sort of give these storms a little bit of a spin with that vertical motion. So that's essentially what we're looking at for this afternoon. Things like that, with that low being that close to us, it's something that we can't necessarily rule out. I still think temps get back to about 60, like I said, 61, maybe 62, but we're going to have to watch these storms roll through. They could be strong. Looks like they pull out of here this evening, and then our heat pulls out of here this evening also. Check it out. 7-day forecast. Doesn't look great. Looks like 62 today, 52 tomorrow. Isolated rain, not a ton, but on the backside of the system, there is some moisture. Isolated showers, but 50s and rain. Once we get into Friday, we're talking 40s and rain. You ready for more? Once we get into the weekend, we got a little clipper on the backside of this. We're talking almost 40. Like Saturday, we spend the day in the 30s with a little bit of a mix. It's possible. I think there's a better shot late Saturday into Sunday on the backside of that clipper of some lake enhancement. That northwest wind coming over the lake. Again, there's no ice on it, so that lake effect snow machine could crank up. We'll be near freezing, topping out into the mid-30s, so I do expect some snow, some slick spots on Sunday, and there's not much of a rebound. Maybe Wednesday we'll get back into the 50s, likely Thursday, but Tuesday's system that rolls through here, which we're watching closely, could have rain, snow, and ice, which is March in Ohio. This is kind of what we deal with. Every time I post anything on Facebook about any snow chances, we always see comments saying that it hasn't even snowed on the crocuses yet. We get 3 snows on the daffodils, so we're not done yet. That is 100% accurate. Well, I can't say 100% accurate, but we typically do get some pretty good snowfall in the month of March. Heading out the door right now, I do want to show you, I just want to pop this radar on here and just show you where we're at, show you what we're dealing with. On the back side, you see this See this cold air here? Let's throw this in motion. You can see the flow from that. That's essentially what we're going to be dealing with on the backside as the low pulls up and out of here. Backside rolls through. All right, let's see. Questions. I've got your answers. Safe to plant yet? No, it's not. Not until Memorial Day. That is the rule. Memorial Day. Mr. Calhoun. Flying home from Miami tonight and chance of flight delays. Depends on what time tonight, Jennifer. I do expect, while there are thunderstorms, a couple delays out there, but it's not going to be like a long-term delay or anything like that. But they will wait for the lightning and for the storms to pull out before they start landing. And that's if the storms hit right on Hopkins. So it's the odds of that are pretty low, but it's possible. All right, looks like that's all the questions, which is fantastic. I want to leave this up for us just to show that we are not the only ones dealing with this. This will be quite a chunk of the United States, the eastern chunk, essentially, the eastern United States. That cold front staying south, but we're right there next to that low, and that's just going to give us just enough twist in the atmosphere for a few storms to potentially be tornadic. Let's see if we got any more comments. James says potatoes can be planted. Good stuff. Good stuff. I guess as long as they're not going to come through. Anything that's in the ground is probably in the ground. The ground's not going to freeze, but if they peek through, then you probably don't want to plant those just yet. At least that's what Mark tells me. All right, so I will go ahead and end this. If you guys have any questions, feel free to let me know. Stay safe, stay informed. Don't let this one sneak up on you. It's one of our first little spring hits, so